Hey guys, it's Megan. Welcome back to my home library today. It's still summer, so we're not in the actual library at school, so we're here at home, obviously. I also want to apologize for this ridiculous outfit and this ridiculous hair. For some reason, I tried to be Visco. I don't know, I'm into that right now. I got a Hydro Flask and I bought like 100 scrunchies. I don't know what's wrong with me. I was gonna film a reading like a Visco girl video because I saw Kayla from Books and Lala do that, and basically I just want to do what she did. So anyway. So I don't know how many pages I read in the month of June, but I know that I read 14 books and I DNF'd 3 others that I actually read quite a bit of. So I did a lot of reading, thousands upon thousands of pages probably, because I was crazy and wanted to just read to my little heart's content since it was summer break. And some of these were ebooks, some were audiobooks, some were physical. And I'm just going to tell you very briefly about each one, like my thoughts. I'm not going to tell you the synopsis of each one because we would be here forever if I had to talk about 17 books. So without further ado, let's talk about the 3 books that I DNF'd. So I did DNF the Atlas 6. I can't even remember the author's name, honestly. I didn't even write it down. But this book was so boring. Didn't care about anything that was happening. Didn't care about the characters. It reminded me of like 6 of Crows because there were like 6 different characters, but like it was trying to be dark academia. And I'm thinking maybe I don't like dark academia because I don't like so much of it. But anyway, I'm going to try more of those types of books in the fall, around October, Halloween time. But I DNF'd this, didn't care. I think I got like 30%. I also DNF'd a very short book called Vinyl Moon by Mahogany Brown, maybe is her name. Surely that's not her name. If it is, there's no way that's her real name. That's got to be made up. But anyway, I DNF'd this book because I could see where young people, teenagers would like it and possibly relate to it. It's very short. It has some poetry. It would have been just a very mediocre read. I was not the target audience for this, and I decided I should just DNF it instead of waste my time. And I also DNF'd, if you guys watched my other video about reading popular books, will fantasy lover love these types of books? The answer is no. I DNF'd The Book Lovers by Emily Henry because it is not what I expected. But I did just read a book this month that is more of what I expected, to do with basically like competing bookstores. I thought this is what this was. It is not that. It's very little to do with books. And I can see why the original title was not even going to be called Book Lovers. I can't remember what it was. Somebody told me what the original title was going to be. Something about like city people or something like that. That would have made more sense because it's like city people that go to like a little rural area in like North Carolina or whatever and have a little love story. And it really didn't have to do much with books. And I wanted it to be about books and it wasn't. So honestly, I didn't care too much about anything going on in it either. The characters were just sort of there. The only thing I liked was the banter back and forth between the 2 main characters was pretty good. Now, for the 14 books that I did read and finish, I have my handy dandy Goodreads pulled up, and I'm just going to read you the short little summary that I wrote for each of these. So the first book I read is A House at the Bottom of the Lake by Josh Malerman. This is marketed as like horror, but it turns out, well, it's definitely young adult. I did not realize that going into it. So I just said this was definitely more like a young adult romance with a little bit of creepiness and a haunted house factor. However, it was incredibly well written. I gave it 3 stars, but I also want to mention that I'm not really giving book star ratings anymore. I'm going to talk more about that in another video, but it's so hard because it's like, do you judge a book based on your enjoyment? Is your star rating just your enjoyment, or are you rating the book based on the literary quality, like the writing style, the characters, the plot, the atmosphere, all that sort of stuff? What's the stars? What's it mean? And I know some people, I guess, have their own, sorry, my glasses are really dirty. They have their own like star rating system. So maybe if I developed my own system for what the stars meant, that would be fine. But it's hard to even say about this book. It was good for what it was, but I just didn't know going into it that it was more of a romance. The next book I read was The Guest List by Lucy Foley. I didn't actually write a review of this one, but I did enjoy it. It was a very popular mystery novel from, I think, last year, and it was good. I would read from her again. The more I think back on it, the more it was one of the better mysteries I've read, I suppose. Then I read Malibu Rising by Taylor Jenkins Reid. If you know anything, if you've seen my video, if you know anything about me watching or reading this type of book, you would know that this would be not something I'd ever pick up. I just did it for that video about reading popular books to see if I would hate them or not, basically. And the more I thought about this one, the more I liked it. It's clear that this is a really good author, and I will definitely read more from her, but I just didn't care as much about the plot. I mean, like a surfing family, and it was the history of this family and different generations that have struggled with family issues. And that's just not what I'm into, because I like fantasy. I want to kind of escape from that sort of thing. So I don't really read realistic fiction, but I understand that it was a good book, and I would definitely probably read, well, I definitely want to read The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, so that's on my list. Then I read Verity by Colleen Hoover. Okay, here's my review. I said, well, that ending was kind of silly. If miscommunication was the issue for this entire story, that's just stupid, LOL. I do kind of like the ambiguity at the end. I was intrigued throughout, but the romance just didn't seem to be there for me. Yeah, the romance part was just stupid. I feel like the main characters had no chemistry, and the protagonist didn't have as much of a personality. It was fine. So yeah, it was just fine. I listened to it on audio, which I do feel like the mystery books on audio are pretty good because they keep you wanting to actually pick it up and read, being a mystery. I also listen to the guest list, and I do like listening, I feel like, to the mystery books. But yeah, I mean, it was fine. It's not all it's cracked up to be. Like, I don't think I'll ever read from Colleen Hoover again, because I know most of her other books are romance, and nah, I'm not here for that. Next, I read a really, really short little novella called A Spindle Splinter by Alexi Harrow. I wasn't going to ever read from this author again because I was so disappointed in The 10,000 Doors of January, but this was much better than I expected. So my review says, the writing is excellent. Sleeping Beauty was my favorite movie as a child. I actually watched it every single day, so perhaps that's why I loved it so much. This has redeemed Alexi Harrow in my eyes, and I'm looking forward to the sequel, which I think just came out, and I'm going to be reading it. It's called A Mirror Mended. But yeah, I thought it was really fun, and I'm definitely going to read it, and the writing was really good. Then I read Remote Control by Nnedi Okorafor because I hear a lot of people talk about this author, and it was a very short sci-fi novella. Oh wait, I have it. Aha! I have this one. Very short, as you can see. I got this one from school, picked it up at the end of the year to bring home with me for the summer, and I said, it's marketed as science fiction, but I would say it's definitely more of a folktale / fantasy with a hint of sci-fi, so just know that going into it. The first chapter was super engaging, but it peters out by the end. I was disappointed by the last couple of chapters. Somehow I got too many answers, but also not enough answers. I got answers about things I didn't want to know. I wanted some things to be more open-ended, and then other things I wanted to know more about and they didn't tell me. So it's a very strange little book. Don't know that I would highly recommend it. I mean, it was fine, but I don't know that it really gave me much to think about afterwards. So yeah, if I were rating this on Jeremy John's movie rating system, this would be forgettable in T-1 day. Then I read a very random ebook that I found because my husband told me about this series called, the series is called Kingdom Keepers, and the first book is Disney After Dark. I did not know that Disney had like little adventure middle grade books. This one is by Ridley Pearson. I think the whole series is. It's a whole series, and then there's like a new spin-off series or something. But I said, originally, I gave it 3 stars. Like I said, I'm not even doing stars anymore. But my review says, really more of a 2-star read as far as the writing, plot, and characters. I only gave it 3 stars because of my enjoyment. Since I like Disney World, I will probably continue the series anyway. Basically, if you like Disney and you just want to read about characters going around and having adventures, and yes, the dolls come to life on It's a Small World and try to kill them. Of course, how could they not? But I think book 2 is set in Animal Kingdom, so maybe each book is set at different parks. I don't know. But if you just like Disney and you just want to pretend like you're at Disney World having adventures, this would be a good book. However, I didn't really care too much about anything that was happening. Then was my surprise sleeper hit, which is Nettle and Bone by T. Kingfisher. I put this in my mid-year freakout tag about this is one of the most surprising books I ever read in a long time because I didn't really expect anything from it. I thought, it's just going to be a weird little fantasy, whatever. No, it was wonderful. It was not a like massive world building kind of fantasy. It didn't have a crazy magic system. It was not like the world's about to end and we have to save it. It was just about a girl trying to save her sister, and to do so she has to kind of gather up this ragtag group of people, which I didn't even know that was the plot going into it. And some of the people she gathers up are really unique. There's this character called the Dust Wife, who is like my favorite new character ever. She's kind of like a witch, and she was great. I loved her personality. And then, I mean, there's a dog made of bones. His name is literally Bone Dog. That's like an awesome character. So just the characters were great. The dialogue was great. It was funny at times, pretty funny at times. It didn't take itself too seriously, and it was just a really fun fantasy, and I highly recommend it. And I'm going to read more from this author. The next book I randomly got from the public library as an ebook and read it on my Kindle, or my little tablet thing, is My Best Friend's Exorcism by Grady Hendrix. And the first half, well, I'll read you my review. Oh, I didn't write a review for this one or the last one. Okay, well, basically the first half was really fun. And it's kind of like the beginning of Stranger Things or something. And it's set in the 80s and it's very nostalgic. And they go to roller rink parties, and things, and watch their VHS tapes. And it's just very nostalgic and really, really just fun. And then it gets dark. Needless to say, it is about a person whose best friend is possessed. I mean, that's in the title. And so, yes, it does get dark. The ending was darker than I thought it was going to be, but the writing was really good, and I will definitely read more from this author again as well. Then I read The Year I Stopped Trying, a novel by Katie Henney, and this author is, it turns out, very, I was going to say very young. No, this is a different book. Never mind. I'm getting all these books mixed up. But this book was also pretty good. I gave it 4 stars, but like I said, I'm not really doing the star thing anymore. I said this book was not perfect by any means and read very young. It does read very young. It's young adult anyway, but definitely the young end of young adult, I would say, like 9th grade. However, I absolutely love the author's sarcasm and dry wit. Definitely some really good advice in here as well, and I will be recommending this one to my students. And I had a really fun time reading it. I thought it was the perfect length. It wasn't too long. There's a lot of spacing between the paragraphs, so it's not intimidating looking to students or anything, and it's really fast to read because of that. And I just related to the main character very much so because I also was very similar to this character in the sense that I thought everything had to be perfect, and then I was like, why am I trying so hard? So, yeah, this one was pretty fun. I'm not going to talk too much about this next book because I already have my whole reading vlog about it, but I read the most popular book in our school library for like 2 years running now. Everybody wants to read One of Us is Lying by Karen M. McManus. And there's a sequel as well, and she has other books that are similar, sort of like mysteries. But anyway, this is One of Us is Lying. Everybody said it was The Breakfast Club with murder. It turns out it wasn't really that. It turns out it was very much a young adult novel. That's what I put on here. All I said was, this was a YA realistic fiction novel disguised as a mystery, all about teens and their drama. I am not the target audience for this. All the characters were very stereotypical. I saw the ending coming a mile away. I did predict the ending, like very early on. So yeah, I was not a fan, but I can see why students would enjoy it. We have 3 books to go. So I read Every Heart a Doorway by Shauna McGuire, also very short. You can see that's sort of the trend, a lot of short books. This is the beginning of the Wayward Children series, and here's my review. I said, what a fun little book. The first part really just introduces you to the world, but then it turns into a murder mystery. I didn't see that coming. Also more gruesome than I expected. I will definitely continue the series. I didn't read very much of the synopsis. Like I might have read this a while back, but like I didn't really want to know what it's about, except I knew it was about this, home for children that had been to magical lands, and now they've come back and they want to go back to their magical lands and they don't know how to. And this is like the home for them. I did not know it was a murder mystery, but that's what it turns into. And I know that the other books in the series follow different characters, not the same protagonist as in this one. I think the next series follows 2 characters that are in this one, and it was like their story, but it's not the same characters. So I'm definitely going to continue this series as well. 2 to go. Next, I listened to Dial A for Aunties or Aunties, however you say it, by Jessie Sutanto. This is the book that made me stop rating star ratings because I didn't know how to rate it. Do I rate it based on my enjoyment, how good the book is? Both? Neither? I couldn't figure it out. So I said, this may be when I stop using star ratings. I am so conflicted on how to rate this. This was a fun read and I mostly enjoyed it. However, this is not something I would normally pick up. It also did exactly what it set out to do and did it well. So do I do I rate this based on that or based on my enjoyment? Either way, it was a fun time. So I did have fun with it. I mean, I guess it would be a 4-star. I don't know, but I just don't really like mysteries that well. So am I comparing it to other mysteries? Am I comparing it to every book I've ever read? Am I comparing it to my 5-star books that are up here, in which case it's way down here? I don't know. So I can't compare this book to anything. This is the book that made me consider not rating books by stars. So it was really good. I definitely enjoyed it. I would recommend it. It was, I thought it was more of a murder mystery at first, but it's not. Like the main character kills someone at the beginning. It tells you that. Like it's a fun, like lighthearted thing, but she kills somebody, and her aunts and her mom, so she's got 3 aunts and then her mother, so it's 4 of them that have to help her hide the body, and they have to go to a wedding because they all like have a business that involves wedding planning, and each one of the main, like the siblings, does a different job, basically like a caterer or that kind of thing. And the main character is a photographer. So they have to go to this wedding, but they have a body. So they take the body with them to the wedding to try to dispose of it. and you can imagine how that's going to go. But this is also a romance, and I did not know that going into it either. It's one of those second chance romances, I guess they're called, where like the main character had a romance with a guy in the past, and you see some flashbacks at the beginning, but now she runs into him again. So there's gonna be a romance between the two of them. But yeah, I recommend this book. It was really fun. The last book I read in June, I also really enjoyed, and that is A Psalm for the Wild-Built Monk and Robot book, is the name of the series, by Becky Chambers. It's the first time I've ever read Becky Chambers, but I know she has other sci-fi books, so I'll probably check into those as well. Very short. Very, very short. I did not know what to expect from this. I knew nothing about it except that everyone on BookTube talks about it and has read it. And the sequel just came out. So I'm definitely going to read it. And here's what I said. I said, what a fun little book. I think I said that for, Every Heart a Doorway also. What a fun little book. Definitely not what I expected. It reminded me somewhat of The Alchemist for some reason, which is one of my other favorite books. Great writing and a wonderful discussion at the end. I will definitely continue with this series and try more from Becky Chambers. To me, it was more about having the discussions that they wanted to have in this book between the monk and the robot at the end, and the whole setting and the way it was set up was just a way for them to have the discussions in a unique way. So the sci-fi setting honestly doesn't matter. Like, it's cool, but you wouldn't you could have any setting and have these things happen and the characters have these discussions. So that's what I kind of liked about it. But yeah, I'm going to read book 2, which I think just came out. So those are the 14 books I read in June. I'm DNFing 3 other ones that I read quite a bit of. Like, I think Book Lovers I read like 50% of before I DNF'd it. So I got pretty far in some of them. Anyway, I had a great reading month, and now I want to calm it down. In fact, it's a little bit later into July already, and I've only read 1 book completely. I'm about to finish another one here soon, but still. So I'm proud of myself for not reading too much. Okay, so thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know in the comments down below if you guys have read any of these books and what you thought. So I will talk to you guys again later. Bye.